I'm 6 months pregnant. I went to the doctor's for a checkup happily. I waited for my husband to come home with me, but I accidentally overheard his conversation with the doctor. The doctor said, "Mr. Thompson, the fetus is developing very well, but what you're doing is really cruel to your wife. It's all in vitro. Isn't it the same as using Sophia's eggs? Mr. Thompson, your wife is 6 months pregnant. If she finds out that the baby isn't hers, how sad will she be? She loves you so much. And you're doing this to her. Oh dear, since you've made up your mind, let's do it. Stop it. Emily must never find out. Sophia has a weak heart. Giving birth is risky. I owe her this child. If she hadn't saved me back then, I would have. As for Emily, I will take care of her for the rest of my life. I will make up for what I owe her." As I looked at the pregnancy test results, which showed that the baby was healthy in every way, my heart felt as cold as if it had fallen into an ice cellar. Lucas insisted on doing the test tube, just to replace my eggs with Sophia's. I experienced 6 months of morning sickness and insomnia. The result was Lucas and another woman's child. I re-registered. Appointed for an induction of labor. "Lucas, you really think that accident back then? Sophia saved you? Mr. Thompson, the child's blood type is very special. After the child is born, your wife will find out sooner or later. Take the baby away. Tell Emily the baby didn't survive. Sophia's body can't hold on much longer. If it weren't for the heart transplant, she wouldn't have survived. She saved Emily's life before. Let's say you're returning the favor this time." I stood in the doorway. My whole body kept shaking. I couldn't stop trembling. I waited outside the door for the baby to be born. Lucas was inside trying to kill the baby. I'm 6 months pregnant, and it's Lucas and Sophia's baby. I'm stunned. I want to rush in and ask for an explanation, but my feet are like nailed to the floor. "I can't move, doctor. I've finished the last of the pills. It's time to prescribe a new one. This medicine is a secret formula. It strengthens the baby's heart, but it makes the mother's health worse and worse. Remember, don't take it for more than 7 months. This is the last course of treatment." Lucas took the pill bottle from the doctor. His face wore a meaningful smile. I was shocked and covered my mouth. It seemed as if Lucas's voice was ringing in my ears. "Remember to take folic acid every day. This way, your baby's heart can develop more healthily." After becoming pregnant, Lucas brought me warm water after every meal. He watched me eat it. I took the pills in that bottle every day for 6 months. During this time, my insomnia got worse and worse. My hair was falling out in clumps. My mental state was also far from good. I always thought this was a normal reaction during pregnancy. I never imagined that I was not taking folic acid at all. Before Lucas opened the door, I tried hard to suppress my excitement. I tried to calm myself down as much as possible. "Emily, the doctor said that the baby's heartbeat is strong. In a few months, we will be able to see the baby." Lucas looked very excited, but I felt cold all over. We have been together for 5 years. We have been through life and death together. I thought this was unforgettable love, but it turned out to be a complete fraud. Sophia needs a heart transplant, but her blood type is too rare. No suitable donor can be found. So, Lucas used the excuse of in vitro fertilization to secretly replace the egg. He made me pregnant with his child and Sophia's. Once the child is born, the heart will be taken away. There is no way it can survive. I don't know if I should feel sad for myself or this child who is not related to me by blood. I returned home in the afternoon. After dinner, Lucas went upstairs with a cup of warm water as usual. "Emily, it's time to take the folic acid today." I watched him take out the pill bottle, pour out a few pills, and bring them to my mouth. I said, "I don't want to take it." Lucas frowned, looking serious. "Emily, for the sake of the child's health, just hang in there a little longer. Be obedient." He gently comforts me, but quietly makes me take the slow-acting poison. I hold back the sadness in my heart. I take the glass of water and speak slowly. "Lucas, you really want me to take this, silly? You've been taking it for months. You're not used to it yet. Folic acid is good for your baby's health, and you'll have less to worry about in the future." The last bit of hope in my heart disappears. Lucas knows this medicine will harm my body, but he watched me take it. He never stopped me. He wiped the water from the corner of my mouth with satisfaction. Suddenly, I felt nauseous. I wanted to vomit. Lucas quickly covered my mouth with his hand. "Emily, bear with it. The medicine is useless if you vomit it." He looked at me as I reddened. He still held my arm tightly. He wouldn't let me move. I suppressed the discomfort. I swallowed hard. "Just hold out for another month. Then we don't have to take it anymore. Be good. Do it for the baby. Tears kept flowing down my face. My face was covered in them, in Lucas's eyes. My health, the baby's life, none of it was as important as Sophia's. If that was the case, there was no need to continue this marriage, which had lasted 5 years. After I fell asleep, Lucas got up and went to the balcony to answer the phone. He said, "Sophia, the baby's heart is developing well. There is no need to worry." "Lucas, it's all my fault. I've burdened you. If I hadn't fallen ill, you wouldn't have been forced to marry Emily, to let her get pregnant through IVF. You saved my life, but you fell ill and became sterile. It's just a child. You gave me my life for you. I'm willing to do anything. Tomorrow is the anniversary of our parents' death. You must come, because you are the only one they recognized as their daughter-in-law." Hearing them speak, my heart sank. The fire. Lucas's parents are gone. I pulled him out of the fire at the risk of my life. I fainted from exhaustion. When I woke up, I found Sophia hugging Lucas and crying her eyes out. Lucas also took her for his savior. I was about to speak. Sophia quickly put an oxygen mask on my face. "Lucas, thanks to Emily's sister crying so hard, I was able to follow the sound of her voice and find you guys. But Emily has inhaled too much smoke. She may experience hallucinations." Lucas turns his head to look at me. His eyes are not as bright as before. "Emily is blessed. She is tough. She will definitely survive. Sophia, thanks to you, we are still alive," I say weakly. My voice is muffled by the oxygen mask. I clearly saved Lucas from the fire, but Sophia has taken the credit. Lucas believed her completely. I felt so aggrieved. As I reached for my tears, I knocked over the crystal candlestick on the bedside table. Suddenly, there was a loud noise in the middle of the night. Lucas turned to look at me. I hung up the phone in a hurry. I walked back to the bed. "Emily, why are you awake? Did you have a nightmare?" "Yes." "Who were you talking to?" His eyes showed a hint of unease. "It was a bit urgent at work, but it's not a big deal. It's still dark. I'll stay in bed with you for a while." Lucas does as he usually does. He gets into bed and pulls me into his arms. But this time I resist his closeness. I move aside. He asks, "What's wrong? Children always move around. I'll feel better if I lie down." He smiles tenderly. His hand rests lightly on my stomach. "You little rascal. You're the one who makes Mummy so tired. I'll spank you when I get out. Tomorrow is the anniversary of Mom and Dad's death. You're pregnant and have mobility issues. Don't bother helping." My throat feels bitter, but I'm used to this feeling. Every year on the anniversary, he always finds various excuses to stop me from paying my respects. "Emily, you have such a bad cold. It's better if you don't go out. I'll go alone." This time, I've invited a drum and bell troupe to perform. "I'm afraid it'll disturb you. You just wait at home for me to come back. You're not feeling well. You can't stand the smoke from the firecrackers. Be good. Wait for me." I always thought he was genuinely concerned for me. So every year on the anniversary of the accident, I didn't go to the memorial service, but every year in the photos posted online, I could always see Sophia there. She stood shoulder to shoulder with Lucas. Together they bowed to the grave of the Thompson family parents. They held hands. They stood together. It looked like a loving couple. In fact, in Lucas's heart, they have already become family. I have no right to mourn his parents. I forced back my sadness and nodded. After Lucas fell asleep, I sent a message to a good friend who works in a hospital. "Arrange an induction for me. I don't want this baby anymore." Early the next morning, Lucas left the house. He must have gone to pick up Sophia. I opened Sophia's circle of friends. The latest post had just been made. "Mom and Dad, haven't seen you for a year. Miss you very much." The photo was taken from Lucas's passenger seat. All you can see is the arm of the man driving the car. Although I have accepted this reality, I still can't help feeling sad. Lucas sent a message. "Emily, I forgot something. Can you deliver it for me? Meet my parents while you're there." There was a beautifully wrapped velvet box on the nightstand. I was surprised by his sudden change of attitude, but I didn't want to delay things, so I grabbed the box and hurried to the cemetery. Lucas took Sophia's hand. They bowed respectfully at the grave. He said, "Emily, I haven't seen you in a long time." Lucas stood up. He turned his head in Sophia's direction. His eyes were full of anger. He asked, "Who told you to come?" "I told you to stay home." "Lucas, I told Emily to come. I saw that you weren't wearing your bracelet, so I asked her to bring it over. It's all my fault." Seeing Sophia pout in distress, Lucas's brows relaxed. His tone also softened. "How could I forget? I was going to give it to you for your birthday. Since it's already here, I'll just put it on you." This bracelet was left behind by the Thompson family's parents. It is only passed down to the daughter-in-law of the Thompson family. Lucas handed the bracelet to Sophia. The meaning behind this action was obvious. When Sophia took the box from me, she leaned close to my ear. Her voice was very low. "Emily, you are useless. It's been 5 years. You haven't been able to make Lucas admit you. The bracelet belongs to me. The child you give birth to will also have to call me Mom. You clearly know that Lucas has no feelings for you, but you can only bear it silently. It really breaks my heart. I never really cared for this bracelet." But then she suddenly mentioned the child. I was 6 months pregnant. I had suffered from morning sickness, stretch marks, hair loss, and insomnia. In the end, it was Sophia and Lucas' child. My heart churned. Before I could retort, she suddenly screamed. She slammed the box on the ground. The bracelet fell to the ground. It broke into several pieces. "Emily, what are you doing?" Lucas shouted angrily. "Emily, I know you're upset that Lucas gave me the bracelet, but it was a token of love from the Thompson parents. How could you treat it like this? I just came to visit my aunt and uncle. If Emily doesn't want to see me, I'll leave." She turned to go with tears in her eyes, but Lucas grabbed her. "Sophia, it's not your fault. You have to leave. She should be the one to go," Lucas said angrily. Sophia had always remembered the kindness of my parents over the years, but you, as a daughter-in-law, have never paid your respects. "Emily, no matter how willful you are, you shouldn't make a scene at my parents' graves." I froze for a moment. I was so aggrieved that I couldn't speak. He had been stopping me from paying my respects all these years. Now he was saying that I wasn't filial. Since I wasn't welcome, I don't need to stay here. "Fine, I'll go." Lucas's eyes showed his reluctance, but in the end, he didn't go after her. He gently took Sophia's hand. He comforted her tenderly. After returning home, Lucas called to explain the situation. "Emily, when I said those things this afternoon, I didn't want to upset Sophia. She's been an orphan since she was little. Her mind is more sensitive, and my parents raised her. That bracelet is just my parents' way of showing their love for their daughter. It doesn't mean anything else. Don't think about it anymore. If you like it, I can buy you another one." "No need." "Lucas, you were worried that she would be upset, so you let me take the blame. You framed me. You really are a family with a deep bond. Forget it, I'm not getting involved in this mess. Emily, don't be angry. Tomorrow is our 5th anniversary. Let's celebrate at home. I've got a present for you, you'll like it." As usual, he sweet-talked me, but that face full of emotion made me feel fake. I was going to refuse, but I thought that relationships should have a beginning and an end. Since we were breaking up, let's end it on the 5th anniversary. Lucas not only hired a Michelin-starred chef to prepare a candle-lit dinner, he also decorated the house with balloons and ribbons. I went downstairs in my tuxedo. I noticed that on the wall, in addition to our wedding photo, there was also a beautiful portrait of Sophia. I looked at Lucas suspiciously. It was our wedding anniversary. Why was there a picture of her? As soon as I said that, Sophia appeared in the doorway wearing a couture dress. "Lucas, Emily, I'm not late, am I?" She was wearing high heels and naturally took Lucas' arm. When she saw my face fall, Lucas quickly let go of her hand. He explained anxiously, "Emily, don't think too much about it. Today happens to be Sophia's birthday. She's all alone here. I just thought we could throw a party together. The more people there are, the merrier." I felt extremely uncomfortable, but I forced back my emotions. "By the way, Emily, I also got a present for the unborn baby." Sophia took out a long-life lock made of sheep's fat jade from her bag. "May Emily's baby live a long and healthy life." When she said live a long life, her eyes were full of sarcasm. Sophia was willing to give up her own child in order to get the right heart. I could no longer hold back my anger. I knocked the longevity lock onto the ground. The longevity lock fell to the ground and broke in half. "Emily, what are you doing? Sophia gave you a gift with good intentions. It's fine if you don't like it, but why spoil her feelings?" Sophia's tears welled up in her eyes. "Forget it, Lucas. I understand that Emily is still upset about the bracelet. It's all my fault. I've delayed your anniversary. It's fine. I can celebrate my birthday by myself. Don't blame Emily." Sophia picked up the broken longevity lock on the ground. She accidentally cut her hand on the sharp fragments. Blood ran from her fingertips. "Sophia, it's not your fault. She's the one who's being unreasonable." Lucas gently took Sophia's hand. Then he turned his head and glared at me angrily. "Emily, I've been too indulgent with you. Sophia is the one who saved your life. Now you apologize to her immediately." I was so distressed that I could hardly breathe, but I stubbornly looked him in the eye. "My rescuer. You still think Sophia saved you? Luca's face showed surprise. Sophia lowered her head, a little guilty, but she immediately cried out loudly. Emily, sister, you were almost fainting. It's normal to remember it wrong, but you can't frame me like this. Since you hate me so much, can I just leave? She ran out of the Thompson family crying. Lucas gave me an angry look. Then he chased after her. I was left standing alone in the living room, looking at the cold candlelight dinner and the photo of the three of us. That night, Lucas didn't come home in the early morning. Sophia posted a new video. The caption read, "This is the happiest birthday I've ever had." Lucas made a butter cake with his own hands. In the video, Sophia leaned into his arms, smiling as she blew out the candles. After making a wish, they kissed deeply. I sent this video to my best friend. It's ridiculous, my best friend said angrily. These two are really going too far, but I can't see the video. It turns out, Sophia's updates are only visible to me. I exited the page with a bitter smile, thinking it doesn't matter. I'll wish them well anyway. At that moment, Lucas sent a message. Emily, I'm working overtime at the office tonight. I'm not going home. I have a meeting tomorrow morning. I'll accompany you to your prenatal checkup in the afternoon. Wait for me. I suddenly remembered. Tomorrow was supposed to be the day of my prenatal checkup, but instead, I would be sending this little life away. No need. I'll go by myself. That's not okay. I know I was rude to you tonight, but Sophia is your savior after all. What you did was really inappropriate. I've already apologized to Sophia for you. She's straightforward. She won't care. You go to bed early tonight. I'll pick you up tomorrow. I snorted. So-called overtime. It was just spending Sophia's birthday with her. I didn't reply to the message. I just turned off my phone after dawn. My best friend accompanied me to the hospital. The doctor looked at the ultrasound. There was a hint of regret in his tone. The baby's limbs are all growing well. Are you really determined to induce labor? I nodded firmly. The doctor sighed. Have you discussed inducing labor with your husband? He was always there for every prenatal checkup. He really likes this child. And now it's getting older. Inducing labor is not good for the body. I felt a pang of sadness. In the past, during prenatal checkups, Lucas always helped me make appointments. After the checkup, he would help me get dressed. He would also remember the doctor's instructions. I used to think that he was looking forward to the birth of the child more than anyone else. But now I understand. He just sees the child as a tool to save Sophia. As for my body, he doesn't care at all. The baby's father agreed. He told the doctor, do the operation as soon as possible. Seeing that I was adamant, the doctor had no choice but to reluctantly agree. Cold instruments moved around inside my body. My heart was breaking. The operation was over. I lay pale on the operating table. At that moment, Lucas sent a message. Emily, why did you go to the prenatal checkup alone? Didn't we agree that you would wait for me? How is the baby developing? Let me see it. I raised the corners of my mouth in a cold smile. I pointed my phone at the bloody piece of flesh on the tray. I took a photo and sent it. Lucas, does it look good? As soon as I sent the photo, Lucas called immediately. He said, Emily, don't tease me. Let me see our baby. I answered weakly, Lucas, this is your baby. His voice suddenly became hoarse. I immediately realized what was going on. His tone became anxious. You aborted the baby. Why, you always wanted a child. But this child is not mine. Lucas, now that it's come to this, do you still want to lie to me? My voice could not help but tremble. You bribed the doctor before and replaced my eggs with Sophia's. Without my knowledge, carry your child for more than 6 months. Lucas, how long are you going to lie to me? Do you really love the child? You're just trying to find a suitable heart for Sophia. As a father, you're even willing to sacrifice your own child. You're so cold-blooded. Lucas, I'll have my lawyer send you the divorce papers. Let's get a divorce. After hanging up the phone, I said goodbye to my best friend. Then I took a taxi to the airport. When I left the Thompson family, I only took a few clothes and the necessary documents. I only took my things, the clothes and jewelry I had worn since the wedding. Most of it had been a gift from Lucas. I didn't want to see any of it again. Lucas called again, but the number was no longer connected. The wedding photo on the wall was taken down. All the group photos were cut in half. Lucas was left all alone. He didn't dare think too much. He didn't think Emily was cheating on him. He rushed to the hospital. I'm already at the airport. I'm about to board. Lucas arrives at the hospital. He hears the doctor who induced the labor chatting with the nurse. The doctor says, the fetus is healthy. What a pity. The pregnant woman had developed pulmonary hypertension due to the fire. It was already a risk to give birth. but she insisted on giving birth to this child for her husband. Now I don't know why. Suddenly she doesn't want the baby anymore, alas. What a tragedy. The pregnant woman named Emily. I heard that she tried to save her husband back then. She almost couldn't get out of the fire. That's how she got sick, alas. Such a loving couple. Why did she suddenly want to induce labor? After hearing this, Lucas immediately rushed into the consultation room. He asked, "You just said that Emily saved me. Oops, how come you just came in? Hey, aren't you the husband who often accompanies MTK's Emily to her prenatal checkups? You don't know that she saved you. I was the one who gave you oxygen at that time. You just woke up. MTK's Emily was more seriously injured than you. If she hadn't tried so hard to save you, if it had been a few minutes later, you would have died. Your wife has been so good to you, yet you ignored your own safety. You let her induce labor when she was more than 6 months pregnant. You still have a conscience. Really, you were so attentive during the prenatal checkups. Now you, alas, it's hard to predict human hearts." Lucas stood there, his mind a blank. He hadn't heard a word the doctor had said. He just felt that his memory and what the doctor had said didn't match up. It was obvious that Sophia had saved him. But why did the doctor say it was Emily? His head was in a mess. He just wanted to know the truth. That year, the Thompson family had a fire. It damaged all the nearby cameras. There was no clue at all. He could only hurry home to ask Sophia. That time when the Thompson family caught fire, a trace of unease crossed Sophia's eyes, but she still pretended to be calm. "It's been so long since that happened. Why mention it? I've made some chicken soup. It'll help you get stronger. Try some." Sophia handed Lucas the bowl of chicken soup, but he waved his hand and knocked it over. His eyes were blazing. He shouted, "Sophia, I'll ask you directly. The person who rescued me from the fire that year was Emily. Was it her?" Sophia was shocked by his appearance. She knew she couldn't hide it any longer. She had to nod in acknowledgement. "Emily risked her life to save you. If I hadn't given you mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, you would have suffocated from lack of oxygen. In that case, I can also be considered your rescuer." "Sophia, you're still lying. The doctor was the one who gave me oxygen." Sophia's lie was exposed. She sat on the ground and cried. Lucas finally realized how ridiculous he had been. He had fallen for a liar and hurt the person who loved him most, and who he loved most. During the 5 years of trying to conceive, Emily had suffered so much. He had lied to her and made her take the pill for 5 years. After she became pregnant, she had hoped so much that her child would be born healthy, but he had already planned to use her beloved child as a spare organ bank for Sophia. Even this child was not Emily's biological child. When she finds out the truth, how heartbroken and desperate she will be. Thinking about this, he couldn't help but punch himself. "Lucas, you've gone too far." The lawyer arrived soon after. "Mr. Thompson, MTK's Emily has left the divorce to me. Please sign this divorce agreement." The divorce agreement in the lawyer's hands made his head ache like it was going to explode. No, he didn't want a divorce. Happiness was clearly within his grasp, but he destroyed it with his own hands. Now all he wants is to find his wife, to apologize to her, to beg her forgiveness. Emily's tricks are endless. She even hired an actor to pretend to be a divorce lawyer. "Lucas, I think she's just trying to scare you. She's just a housewife. Where could she go? Once she's figured it out for herself, she'll definitely come back if you go looking for her. You'll just make her more and more willful." Sophia hadn't finished speaking. Lucas slapped her hard. "Emily is not what you think she is. Our business is none of your business. Sophia, you have deceived me for so many years. You have made me hurt Emily for so long. You deserve to be punished. Bodyguard, take her to the basement. No one is allowed to let her out without my order." Although Sophia begged for mercy, she was still taken away forcibly. Lucas tore up the divorce papers. He used all his connections. He found out about my flight details. After I arrived abroad, I checked into a rehabilitation center. I just had an abortion. I'm still very weak. I have to get better before I look for a job. The nurses at the rehabilitation center are very attentive under their care. I'm getting better quickly. Today is a nice day. I'm about to go for a walk. The lawyer suddenly called me. "Miss Emily, Mr. Thompson still refuses to sign the divorce papers, but we'll continue to follow up on the matter." "Okay." I hang up the phone. I'm about to head back to the rehabilitation center. Lucas suddenly appears behind me. He looks exhausted. The stubble on his chin is even more pronounced. The dark circles under his eyes are particularly obvious. The custom-made suit that used to fit him now hangs crumpled on him. During my absence, his dull eyes suddenly lit up. Emily, I've finally found you. As soon as he said this, he dropped to his knees with a thud. His face was full of remorse. Emily, I was wrong. I shouldn't have hidden the truth about your child's parentage. And I shouldn't have believed Sophia's words. I've misunderstood you for so long. I apologize to you. Emily, I'm really sorry. I can't bear to lose you. Every night when I close my eyes, your face is in front of me. But when I open my eyes, I can't touch you. Every day after you left was torture for me. Please forgive me. Don't get a divorce, okay? His eyes were red. His voice was full of pleading. Unfortunately, it's too late now. Lucas, you think saying there was a misunderstanding can undo the harm you've done to me over the years. An apology can make me forget your past deception. Didn't you say that you would do anything for Sophia? Now I'm giving you that chance, so you can be with her. Why are you upset? No, Emily. It's not what you think. He interrupted me in tears. His voice trembled uncontrollably. At that moment, I thought the Sophia who saved me, the one I treated well over the years, was just repaying a debt. The one I truly love is you, my wife. You will always be the only one. Come home with me. Emily, please give me another chance. I looked at him with a sneer. Lucas, it's too late. I don't love you anymore. You signed the divorce papers. Don't come looking for me again. Lucas, I don't want to hate you. I broke free from his grasp and walked back into the rehab center. You need an appointment here. No outsiders allowed. For the next few days, Lucas could only stand outside the gate and watch me from afar. I drew all the curtains, so he couldn't see me anymore. A week later, I thought Lucas had gone. I was about to go for a walk, but I saw him at the reception desk. Lucas had also checked into the rehabilitation center, so he could see me every day. I felt a headache coming on. I turned to leave, but he grabbed me. Emily, I understand that you don't want to forgive me yet. I just want to see you every day. I'll quietly stay by your side. I'll never disturb your life. As long as I see you doing well, I'll be content. Please don't send me away. Okay, Lucas, I won't be happy when I see you. Don't bother anymore. No matter what you do, I won't change my mind. Lucas, you have to understand. It's over between us. He was about to speak when his phone suddenly rang. Mr. Thompson, something's happened. Miss Sophia has started a hunger strike. She says if you don't come back to see her, she'll starve herself to death. Let her go in the future. Don't tell me about her anymore. Lucas's tone suddenly turned cold. It was completely different from before. He said, Lucas, can you come back and see me? My heart is in great pain. If there is no suitable heart donor, I may die. Sophia, your life or death is none of my business. You deserve this. He hung up the phone. Sophia's pleas were rejected at the other end of the line. He watched my back as I walked away. His eyes were full of desolation. When the news came from home that Sophia had passed away, Lucas was standing outside my hospital room. He waited for the nurse to bring my meal so that he could look at me for a moment. His expression was calm. It was as if he didn't know Sophia at all. These days, he didn't bother to visit me, but I always feel his gaze watching me from afar. That divorce agreement, he still hasn't signed it. That afternoon, I had no choice. I had to open the door and let him into the ward. His eyes lit up, thinking I had forgiven him. He grabbed my hand, pressed it against his chest, and said, That's great. Emily, I knew you'd forgive me, I promise. I'll treat you right from now on. It'll never be like it was before. I coldly withdrew my hand, calmly said, Lucas, you've got it wrong. What I want to talk to you about is the divorce. The light in his eyes obviously dimmed. If you don't sign the divorce agreement, I will file for divorce in the country. This matter has been handed over to the lawyer. Lucas, don't waste any more energy. It's over between us. I don't want to see you again in the future. I hope you can be self-aware. Leave this relationship with some dignity. Don't bother me again, or I'll call the police and have you deported. After that, I left Lucas, who was still in a daze, and walked away without looking back. My lawyer soon informed me that Lucas had signed the divorce papers. He even voluntarily gave me all the marital assets. After the divorce, he no longer followed me around every day like before. Instead, he returned to his home country. He spent his days drinking. He was even hospitalized several times due to alcohol poisoning. I donated his share of the property to charity. That way, I completely cut off contact with him. My best friend occasionally tells me the news from the country. Emily, you didn't know. That woman didn't even get a tombstone after she died. Lucas had her body wrapped in a straw mat and thrown on the back mountain. Now, her body has probably been eaten by wolves. And Lucas, he often gets drunk and passes out on the street. His company went bankrupt. Now he's a homeless person. This man and woman, they really brought this on themselves. This is the result they deserve. My Emily has finally come out on top. The hard times are over. Good times are here. From now on, you will definitely meet someone who truly loves you, and you will have your own children. I smiled as I finished typing the message. I put down my phone and fell into thought. My health condition is not suitable for having another child. But in this life, I have already experienced the joy of pregnancy, the kind of nervous and full of anticipation waiting. And every time I feel the baby moving in my stomach, I am surprised. It has made me more tolerant and gentle. It's just a pity about the unborn child, but even if it was born, he would have suffered a lot. Before losing consciousness, he did not leave without pain. Perhaps this is the best place for the child. I asked my best friend to invite a master in China to help the child. I prayed that the child would be able to reincarnate smoothly. I hoped that in its next life, it would meet parents who truly loved it. It would no longer experience the scheming and deceit in life. After I recovered, I found a job abroad. Before I got pregnant, I worked hard at Thompson Group. My position was second only to Lucas's, but for the sake of my family, I chose to be a full-time housewife. But I'm not a canary in a cage. No matter where I go, I can support myself. After receiving my salary, I rented an apartment abroad. Life gradually settled down. When I had time, I volunteered at a nearby orphanage. I taught the children who had lost their parents to draw and make handicrafts. After a while, the children affectionately called me Mommy. Every Mother's Day, they would give me a greeting card they had made themselves. Although the brush strokes were crooked, the card was full of the children's longing for maternal love. The head of the kindergarten took my hand gratefully and said, "Ever since you came here, the children have become much more cheerful. They smile a lot more. I believe that when you have your own children in the future, you will definitely be a good mother." I didn't mention to her that I couldn't have children. I just smiled and watched the children running in the sunshine. As long as I have them in this life, I will be very satisfied. A little girl holding wild flowers picked from the roadside ran unsteadily towards me. "Mommy, this flower is for you. You are as beautiful as it is." I crouched down and kissed her gently on the cheek. "Thank you, my dear. Mummy loves you very much." She ran off, laughing, back to the group of children. On Children's Day, I had prepared cards and gifts for each child in advance. They sat in a circle in the shade of a tree and listened attentively as I told them a fairy tale. When I had finished, a little boy said crisply, "Mummy, you are the best mother I have ever seen in the world, but why don't you have any children of your own?" I smiled and patted his head. I replied softly, "Mummy has you too, and that is enough. As long as you two grow up happy and healthy, Mummy will be content."